With the midterm elections just 63 days away, President Biden is back in campaign mode. He touted the Inflation Reduction Act at events in the key swing states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania over the holiday weekend. He also continued a recent trend of critiquing Republicans and Trump supporters. Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes has more on this. Nancy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lana. Yeah, President Biden obviously isn't on the ballot himself this November, but his agenda will hit a wall if Republicans retake control of the House or the Senate. And so he is hitting the campaign trail, trying to avoid a fate that befalls most first-term presidents.
Hello, Milwaukee.
On Labor Day, President Biden hailed labor workers who were key to his victory nearly 2 years ago.
I wouldn't be here without unions.
With the fall election season now in full swing, the president is stumping for other Democrats and slamming former President Trump and his supporters.
The extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division.
Republicans argue the president isn't addressing the issue voters care most about.
It is inflation. It's high record gas prices and rising crime.
Recent polling finds that the president's approval rating is up, though he's still well below 50%. In Milwaukee Monday, the state's governor campaigned with Mr. Biden, but Wisconsin's Democratic Senate candidate opted to go to other Labor Day events.
Send me to Washington, D.C.
Outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's lieutenant governor and Senate hopeful John Fetterman stumped with President Biden for the first time since suffering a stroke in May.
If I have to be in a foxhole, I want John Fetterman in there with me.
Midterm elections during a president's first term tend to favor the party out of power, especially in times of economic uncertainty. Democrats hope to buck that trend by capitalizing on anger over rollbacks in abortion rights. In a new Wall Street Journal poll, voters said the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade was motivating them to cast their ballots even more than inflation was. It's become a consistent theme in Democratic ads.
Doug Mastriano is too extreme on abortion.
This guy is so extreme.
Way too extreme for me.
Republicans have seen the same polling. Some of them have softened the abortion language in their campaign literature. Others are simply trying to focus on other issues. But Democrats are making that difficult to do. The president, Lana, heads back out on the campaign trail on Friday. He'll be going to the battleground state of Ohio.
A lot of campaigning ahead of us, Nancy. Well, let's talk about President Biden coming after Republican Senator Ron Johnson yesterday. He accused him and other Republicans of trying to strip Americans of their Social Security and other government benefits. Walk us through this.
Sure. So Social Security and Medicare are, typically viewed as kind of a third rail of politics, particularly during election season. They're so popular with the public, particularly with seniors who vote in larger numbers, that politicians don't generally like to say anything that would come across as suggesting that they want to trim or end those very important programs. But Senator Ron Johnson, conservative of Wisconsin, where President Biden was yesterday, said a few weeks ago that he believes that those policies should be changed so that Social Security and Medicare would go from being mandatory programs that just automatically get funded by the government every year to something called discretionary programs. He says that that would enable the federal government to go in and tinker and fix things that are broken, but it would also mean that Congress would have to re-up those programs every single year, providing a lot less certainty for seniors. So President Biden naturally brought that up on the campaign trail yesterday, saying that Senator Johnson wants to come after your entitlement programs. And it wasn't just Johnson that he referenced. Senator Rick Scott of Florida, who is running the Senate reelection effort for the Senate this time around for Republicans, he issued a document several months ago that got a lot of attention because he basically suggested that Social Security and Medicare should be looked at to be renewed every 5 years, suggesting that perhaps those programs would be reduced or perhaps even go away in the future. So this is something you're going to hear from President Biden a lot between now and Election Day because it is such a potent topic out on the campaign trail.
Absolutely. The idea, as you said, this was the third rail in politics, and to have this become front and center. It's very interesting. Let's also talk about former President Trump, Nancy, because he was in Pennsylvania on Saturday as well. What did he say there, and how might his continued attacks against the FBI potentially impact the midterms and Republican candidates?
So he was there in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, his first rally since Mar-a-Lago. His Florida home was raided by the FBI a few weeks ago. He was in Pennsylvania to campaign for Dr. Mehmet Oz, the Republican candidate for Senate, and Doug Mastriano, the Republican candidate for Senate. Oz, in particular, has been struggling in the polls, and so former President Trump was there to sort of buck him up. He did talk about Dr. Oz, but he also spent a lot of time railing against that FBI search, arguing that it was a witch hunt that was put in motion by his political enemies, by the left, complaining about the way that the raid was carried out, the fact that some of his personal belongings were taken, and he spent a lot of time railing against President Biden as well, trying to turn the tables on the recent language that President Biden has been using, accusing his predecessor and MAGA Republicans of being semi-fascist or of wanting to turn back the clock. Former President Trump argued instead that it is President Biden who is an enemy of the people and who is using divisive language instead of him. So, this is not the last time that we're going to see former President Trump out on the campaign trail as well. We know he loves a big rally, and that was certainly a very large rally that he held in Pennsylvania, showing that he can still bring out a pretty sizable crowd.
Nancy, let's talk about Alaska, because yesterday former Governor Sarah Palin asked the other Republican who is trying to get that congressional seat in November to leave the race so that the GOP can unite behind a single candidate, her. What more are we learning about this?
So this is a very interesting situation in Alaska, which is traditionally a red state. But in a surprise, the Democrat, Mary Peltola, just won a special election there for Alaska's congressional seat. She beat both Sarah Palin and Nick Begich. The other Republican comes from a very famous political family, the Begich family in Alaska. Now, Sarah Palin did a little better than Nick Begich in that race. She beat him by about 5 points, but Peltola was, of course, the victor. They're all going to have to run again come November, just a few months from now. And because Alaska's rules say that the top 4 vote getters can all run in the general election, that means that theoretically Peltola and Palin and Begich will all be on the ballot again. And Palin is arguing that this is just going to split the Republican vote, that she'll get a lot of Republicans, he'll get a lot of Republicans, and the Democrat, Peltola, will be able to win again. So she's saying in very blunt terms that Begich should drop out of the race. She even called him a loser. She said it's time for him to essentially grow up and see the writing on the wall. He responded that the results of the special election show that there isn't a mandate for Sarah Palin either, which is surprising given the fact that she is the former governor of the state. She was the vice presidential candidate for her party back in 2008. And so at least as of right now, he is staying in the race, which sets up this very real possibility that once again in November, you could have a Democrat winning in that state, because you'll see Palin and at least one other Republican splitting the vote there.
All right, Nancy, thanks.
You're welcome.